Hello, the Darkness 344 here. Today someone requested that I make a tutorial for this RAM design that I made, this two-way Tilable RAM, and that is what we're going to be doing today. And I may be simplifying this top bit a bit just to make it a bit easier, but if the only reason why you'd want to do this is because if your input is already knotted, then you'd want to do this design where basically instead of what we're going to be doing, instead of having your top line go across like this and then just go down one, and this block, instead of being here, it goes up one like that and then have your torch there. Instead of having that, what you could always do is just have your top line go across, go down to have your torch, and also have a slab here, go across and keep going. That's because if your input's knotted. That's only if your input's knotted. You don't need this if it's not knotted. I don't know what circumstance you'd use that in, but I mean it only adds a tick of delay with this one anyway, so I guess there's not really much point doing this, but this is the one we're going to be doing today. So the other thing that I want to show you, this is basically a design of, let's get some fireworks, design of the one in this computer, just a much more compact one, as this one's kind of massive. This one's a lot simpler, however this one's so much more compact, and it is a bit slower but only by a bit. It's so much more compact, it is so worth it, as you basically have your write line and your read line, and then all your controls. Of course, you're basically you can tell it to write, and you can also tell it to read from here, which at the moment it was reading nothing. So if we try this, write that number to it, and when we read it, it'll come down like that. I mean, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's still fast enough to be, for the size, it's quite good. And of course, if you wanted, this is only because it's too wide Tilable, which means you can have your outputs like this. You could get a lot more smaller if you were doing your outputs just at least one block or two blocks across from each other like this. This one, the outputs are a lot further apart. I mean, not only by one block, which may mean stuff like ALUs where the inputs are two blocks, like just one block apart. Then that may make it harder, because then you have to push down, like have a module that pushes all these down into two block bits. Like, hang on, let me just show you, because this needs a bit of clarification. Something like this, this is a really bad example, something like where your outputs go out like this but the opposite way round, so your ALU would be here and your outputs would have to go in like this, or something like that. But yeah, that's just a basic example. Having one block between each output is always much usefuler than having two blocks, as it just makes things smaller, I guess, in this way. And yeah, it's just nicer. But as you can see, you can cram a lot more cells into a smaller space. I don't exactly know how many cells. I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 by 8, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, this is 8 by 8 cells, which is 64 bits just in this small space, where if you were to do it with these or with these ones, it would be a lot bigger. Like, hang on a minute, getting called for some reason. Sorry about that. That was like Lisa from Car Roadway Informants. She was asking me about a car accident that wasn't my fault, you know. I told her that I don't even drive a car, and she said, please hold. So, oh well. What a shame. I don't know how they got my number. That's weird. Haven't really had that many scammers call me before. Yeah, I guess let's get on to the tutorial. So, first of all, what you're going to want is everything I have here. I don't think you'll need slabs, actually. Basically, redstone block. I hate them a lot. Piston, lever, 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 who cares. Repeaters, torches, blocks. And let's just find a nice space. So you're going to want to have a lot of room to do this. This is why I'm going up so far, because it is a lot bigger than it seems, and you do need quite a lot of room. I'll total it up afterwards. So we're just going to start our first module and go 4 blocks like this, and then we can go 1 block down like this. So this is we're basically making a D flip-flop with a few design modifications. So as all D flip-flops go, we're actually going to be doing the torches this side because it's easier for me. We have our repeater here, redstone here, like this, a torch here where you'd normally have your inputs going like this. However, we're going to change this in a minute. And then 2 torches here like this. Then you go down under this torch like this. You have a piece of redstone, so this torch can power it and this torch can power it. And up like that with a block. And of course, I broke that by accident. And a torch underneath that block so it can power this. So this is your basic D flip-flop. Let's just give it a 12, you know. So this is your input. This torch is your output. So at the moment the output is 0. And when we update it, it will still be 0 because our input's 0, even though this is on. It's actually, let's give a better demonstration. If I put there, this is our inputs, alright? So if our input's 0 and we update it, it will update to our input, which is 0. If our input's 1 and we update the flip-flop, it will update it to 1, as you can see. Very simple, and then it will stay 1, as you can see, until you update it. That's basically what a D flip-flop does. So the design modifications we're going to actually do, and what we need next actually is, for RAM to work, you're going to need a write command, which we have here. This is our write command, a read command, so you can get your input, as well as an input and an output line. So your input line is going to have to go somewhere on top of this cell, because if we build another cell here, you can't have it going along the side of the cells. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a block like this, replace this block with a slab. I'll show you why in a bit. And that is because when we break this block and replace it, we're going to replace it with a sticky piston facing downwards. And I think we put a redstone block on that, like that. And we replace this block with a slab, because if it was a block, it would power that piston. We do not want to be powering that piston with our input. So that is why we use a slab here. And then also, if we put a piece of redstone to go into the circuit, it'll still power it. So we're just going to slap a repeater down like that, and this will not get powered, as you can see. Actually, that's a bad example. As you can see, it does not get powered. Then, since we've gone up like this, we can just place a piece of redstone, and our input is going to be along this side because it's just the easiest. So we're going to go up 1 like this, up 1 again, and this will be our input torch. And of course, this is going to be like a dip like this, and this is our first input line, and we're just going to make it along like this so we can input into it. And then of course this is going to be our write command, so we can write it to the cell. So as you can see, the input's knotted, but if we write it, it'll be whatever the input is. Then, now what we want to do is be able to take an output and also add a read command into that output. So we're going to take this torch, and normally I take outputs from the front going like this, but that's kind of inefficient because we want the cell as small as possible. So we can just take an output down from this like this, have a block here. I'm pretty sure we need a slab here instead of this block, but yeah, we do, because we're going to have a piston somewhere else. So we want place a block like that, and underneath that block put a slab, break that block, and then put a piece of redstone like that. That means whenever we have an input, let's just turn this back on again, the output will go onto this slab. Now we need a way to control this slab, so on our final output line we can say which cells we want on and which cells we want off. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to put a piston up like this with a block on top. That's because we needed a slab there, of course, but when we trigger that piston it goes up like that, and when we don't, it goes down like this. You may see what I'm leading at, but if we place a block here and we put a repeater here, it pulls through this block and sends a signal to this piston that we placed in earlier, and it goes down like that. And then this is our read command. So when we want, it's going to be knotted of course, but when we want to read from this cell, we can say read, and it will read whatever the output of the cell is. And then it reads it down to here, where of course we're going to have our line below for the output of course. Now to tile this, we want to be able to tile it this way as well as this way. You can tile it as many times as we want, but I'm going to show just a few tiles this way and a few tiles this way, just to make it easier for you guys to tile it. And also we need to be able to hook this up to a nice line like this one over here. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to put a block underneath, because we can't power this piston from this way or this way because we're putting more cells next to each other. And from that block we want to power this, so if we go like this, we want to be able to power that block with a repeater or something. So like that's a bad example, this will do it like that, and it should be able to power that piston, as we can see. And then from this we're going to go up like this, and actually we can change that out for a piece of redstone dust and put a piece of redstone dust here. Of course this will have to go under like this, but that's just, it doesn't really matter. Then since this actually can't go down to that, however, just to make sure this can go up to that, and we do not want that, so we just place a block on top of that block, just like that, and that is done. And then we can bring this across like this, because although this can't go down to this and power it, this, if we had this on, it could go up to that and mess with the signal, and we don't want that. Not that it would matter too much, it's just it's better having a block there. So now let's start to tile this. So as you can see, I've already built this bit across, so we're just going to do that again, 2 more blocks, and from here this will be our second cell. So another repeater here, 2 pieces of redstone, block down here with our redstone torch here and here. Then remember, block down like this with a piece of redstone going up into a redstone torch like that. Then from this redstone torch we need the slab again, so we're going to place a block and then place the slab underneath just to make it easier. A piece of redstone here, block on top of that, and from this we're going to have the piston of course facing up like that with the block on top. So make sure there's no block here or else it will push this out and break it. So then yeah, make sure there's no block already here, so make sure the block's like that. And of course I accidentally just broke everything. And so when we trigger this piston, which I'm going to put in this real quick to be able to trigger it. So when we trigger the piston, it goes up like that. Then we're going to want the input line of course, so we're going to place a torch like this. You have to have this torch or the cell won't save. Piston down like this with a repeater on top of that, remember it's sticky piston. Slab to not power that piston, piece of redstone so the torch powers that, block up like this, then like that, redstone on top of that. Then we're going to go up like this, put a redstone torch here and go up like this, and that is our second cell. So should we give these a test? So let's test these. Actually we do need the right command down here, so remember the redstone block here, and then I'm just going to go over like this, down under these pistons of course, I mean block, and then this is our output. And at the moment this is knotted, so we're going to have to take a torch and put it like that. So when we pull this down, it gives us our output. So let's put some inputs into the cell, and these are knotted of course as well, which will, I'm just going to fix real quick by doing this. So yeah, that's pretty good. So if we want to write this to this cell, we're going to write the number 0, 0. We're going to just say write like that, and then it's written to the cell. See, 0 and 0, that's the number we wrote. Now when we want to read from this cell, we can just hit this lever and it reads, and the number is 0 and 0, of course, because that's what we wrote. Say we want to write 0 and 1, we input and then hit write, and it should be saved to the cell, as we can see. And when we want to read it, we can hit read, and I've missed a repeater, of course, here, and it will read it, and there we go, and that's what we input. Pretty simple if you ask me. And then we can stop reading, and then we can read again if we want, and the input can change to something else, say, and it will still save the same number whenever we read it. So now we need to tile this way, because you've tiled it this way, and you should be it should be easy enough to tile it this way, but now we want to be able to tile it this way, because yeah, it's all good having a row of cells, but if you want several rows of cells to be able to actually control between which one you actually use the line, then you're going to need to be able to tile it this way. So what we're actually going to do is, because this block can go underneath this, I think we can tile it just about like this. So that block is this block over here, because there's no redstone on top. So I'm going to do one at a time. So first of all, we're going to place this block down, which also means we need to go down like this on this line and have a torch like this. Also, when putting repeaters in on this line, and this line, make sure none of your repeaters go in front of these like this, or it will break. You have to have your repeaters in between, like that. Or on this, you don't want your repeater here or anything, or it'll break that torch. You always want it here, anywhere on this row, and you do not want it here unless you put a block like that to power it, because that would also work actually, to be fair. Would look kind of ugly, so don't really want that. And that's the same with this one. You do not want your repeaters here or here, you want them in the middle all times. So let's actually make the second cell. So of course we've done this bit so far, and that also means we're going to go down one with the slab from earlier like this, have a piston facing down, sticky piston of course, with a repeater on top, and then we can go up like this and like that, and that is the start of the D flip-flop again, and you should be able to get this quite easily. You just have your repeaters and your torches across like this. This is the second right line. So right 1, right 2, right 3, right 4 kind of thing. And then there's read cell 1, read cell 2, read cell 3. Because you can write to cell 1 and you can write to cell 2 and you can read to cell 1, read to cell 2 kind of thing. Like that. I hope you're getting this. I'm very bad at explaining. That's why I would have loved to make an explanation video. I even planned a whole one out. Can't remember where. Somewhere over there I planned a whole explanation video out, but I just could not get around to doing that because I am pretty bad at explaining. If it flashes like this, that doesn't matter, but if you're really bugged by that, you can just flick the lever once and it'll fix it. So now, of course, we have to get the output, so a block down and a slab, just to make the slab placing easier. Redstone on top and the piston with a block on top, and block behind with a repeater facing into this one. And that is almost it, because we have to have the other line now, if I can do this correctly. There we go. A block like that, and this is our second line, which is basically this again, and of course we need to invert it so we can have our lever like this. That is pretty much it. We also need to finish this one, don't we? So if we go across like this and then down here and up again, that is pretty much that done as well. So with this, you don't want you to have your repeaters here, or these blocks won't work. So there we go, that's just 2 cells in a row. And I'm just going to stretch this over just to make it to look a bit more professional. And we're going to build another cell here just in case you missed parts of this one. So of course, since we have this line already done, we can just go across like this, repeater here, that's a lever, not a repeater. 2 pieces of redstone, block down like that, torch, torch, block underneath these torches, so that these torches go into this one, block up from that, redstone torch down like that, block under that, and then the slab, then you break this block, where you have your redstone line, then you want to block up that, or it'll break again. Then from here you want your sticky piston with a block on top, make sure there's no block in here or it'll break. Block from that, repeater like that, with another piston. So I'm just going to place a block here, piston, and the repeater on top of that piston, as well as the redstone block underneath. Slab here, torch here, need that torch. Go up like that with a block, and from this one you can go down again like this, and up from that and across again. Your redstone and your torch here, and then you have your inputs like that. Then you, of course, you need the rest of your output. Very easy. And that is pretty much the cell done. I'm pretty sure it's all done. Let me just check. Of course I missed this bit out. You're going to want to block under this piston with a piece of redstone, and that is pretty much it from what I can tell. Yeah, that's it. So basically now you know how to tile them this way as well as this way, and of course you can tile this infinitely in all ways if you really wanted to. I'm not sure why you'd need this much data in your redstone computer, but you can always do it. So the reason why you would use this again is, say it's for your actual program memory, for your program RAM, because most redstone computers, like the simple ones anyway, use ROM for the program memory, which means you have to go in and place redstone torches down on each line, and that can be a bit tedious, but it's more just, the problem with it is that, say you wanted to put a new program onto it, you'd have to go in, break all those torches and place the torches where you wanted to put the new program. However, with this, it's pretty clever, as if you wanted to have a new program into it, instead of breaking the torches, you can just flick levers and then go to the certain address you want and then hit send. Or you could, and with this, if you had several of these, you could choose between which one, yada yada kind of thing. Also, when I was working on this computer, I also had an input, so you could turn it into I/O mode like this, and it would mean this control panel would be obsolete, and it would take all its inputs from this controller over here. So you put in a serial number and then it just reprograms a certain line basically with the input you put it in, which means you can make computers to program other computers, or you could have like a hard drive module to program a computer with a program or something like that, which is pretty cool, but it also introduces the risk of your friends programming in viruses to break your computer. Not that never mind. But yeah, where have I been making this? I've been making it somewhere over here. So yeah, let's just do this one last test. So first of all, I want to program in the number 1, 1 or 3 into the first cell. So I select that on my line and hit right. Then I want to program in the number 1, 0, which is 2, onto my second line, which would be this one, or second cell even. And there we go. So now it should be programmed in 1, 1 on this one and 1, 0 on this one. Perfect. And say I wanted to get an output from this cell, I could get my output, and as you can see, that's not really clear, you'd of course need repeaters. That's your output, 1, 1. So I wanted to get my output from this cell, which is my second cell, I can ask for an output, and as you can see, I get my output. Of course, you can't do them at the same time or it will corrupt the data. That is why you need dual read RAM, which I actually have a design for some dual read RAM that I came up with, and it means you can get two different, you can read from two different cells at once, and this is, I'm pretty sure, a module from it. You have a top read up here and a bottom read down here. I think I was working on a tutorial but never got round to doing one. I may do one in the future. And I actually use dual read RAM in this computer over here, which is my dual core, dual bus computer, which still haven't tested out, which I really should, because it's a pretty mega computer. Just looking at it, that is when I stopped from being 2D computers to 3D computers, as we can see. But yeah, I was even thinking of building another one of these before I started growing a bit bored and starting a survival world just to mess around with. And I've actually got a project planned for that survival world that actually does use computers. And here was my last computer attempt, which I may still make a computer out of, because this is a really, really efficient dual core computer design. So yeah, I might make a computer out of that. But basically, I hope you like this tutorial. If there's any more tutorials that you want, maybe, yeah, please comment. Feel free to comment. I may do a very simple tutorial. It won't be a tutorial, basically be showing how a very, very simple dual core computer works, because I have no computer background, so no, I'm not taking any computer classes or anything, so don't really know any of the technical terms. I cannot explain anything for the life of God. So if you wanted me to explain something, how it works, I'm pretty bad at that. I can explain it in my own words, but not very good at computer terms. So yeah. Some basalt generators. But yeah, if you wanted me to do another tutorial on some sort of computer, I could show that off. I might show off a bit more serial data uses with my Zuma games serial data thing, because it's very useful, and I can show off some uses for that maybe. I don't know, maybe an ALU tutorial. I think that is long needed, since my last ALU was pretty dodgy. Here's a good example of it. Here it is in all of its glory, absolutely massive and super inefficient. This is like very, very inefficient ALU. I got a much more efficient one that I have on this computer, and I'm using on pretty much all my computers now as it is. Not too big, just this big, and a lot more efficient. So yeah, I guess thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, I am out.